for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Pruitt, appreciate the opportunity for us to, as I quote you, the dialogue that begins today. I hope that future dialogue doesn't span 10 months between these opportunities. Is your current office place of work Washington, D.C.?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And prior to becoming the EPA administrator, what city or state did you live in? Or
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay. Well, Mr. Pruitt, I just would like to point out for the record that you traveled to Oklahoma for 43 out of 92 days this spring, according to the Washington Post. That's almost half of every day in March, April, and May of this year. I'm extremely troubled by reports that your frequent travel to and from Oklahoma occurred at the expense of the U.S. taxpayer and cost more than $15,000 just on those trips alone. And it appears I'm not the only one concerned. At the request of members of this congressional committee, EPA's Office of Inspector General has begun an audit to review issues of potential waste, fraud, and abuse associated with your frequent travel back to Oklahoma at taxpayers' expense. Also, your record of wasting taxpayer dollars does not end there. Later news reports uncovered that you, along with other members of the Trump administration, have been using private jets and military aircraft at tremendous taxpayer expense. One of the most expensive examples was in early June when you and several of your staff traveled on a military jet from Cincinnati, Ohio to John F. Kennedy Airport in New York on your way to Italy. The cost of that flight alone was reportedly over $36,000. In August, you chartered a private plane to fly from Denver, Colorado to Durango, Colorado, in the same state, costing the U.S. taxpayers over $5,000. You did so even though the governor of California had reportedly offered to fly you on a state-owned plane. Mr. Pruitt, the taxpayer bill for your travel on private jets and other non-commercial aircraft is a record total more than $58,000 since February this year alone. These costs are especially offensive given the severe cuts you have proposed to essential and life-saving EPA programs. Take, for example, the Office of Environmental Justice, which helps poor communities who are being disproportionately impacted by environmental pollution. This administration proposed to eliminate the Office of Environmental Justice. So, Mr. Pruitt, are the American people supposed to believe that we cannot afford $2 million to help our most vulnerable communities, but we can't afford tens of thousands of dollars for you to fly on private jets?
First, I want to say to you, Congressman, I do look forward to the dialogue, and I appreciate your comments going forward. I think there's much work that we can engage in together, and I look forward to that discussion. Environmental justice is something that I met with actually internal members of our team yesterday, talking about issues like East Chicago. Environmental justice is an important issue. It's something that we seek to translate to real action on the ground, and we have since I've been serving, with a particular emphasis on Chicago and the East, the Superfund situation there. On the travel that you've highlighted, I would just say to you, every trip that I've taken to Oklahoma with respect to taxpayer expenses has been business related. When I was in Oklahoma for a WOTUS meeting, a Waters United States meeting, we had 3 states converge in the panhandle of Oklahoma that had Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas come together. There were hundreds of individuals in attendance. That's a very important effort. Berg Creek in Osage County had high salinity levels. Region 6 had not responded to those high salinity levels. There was harm taking place with fish in that water, and as such, we needed to take action, and I was there to address that. There are concerns that affect Oklahoma and Region 6 just like every other state. Every dollar that was expended with respect to those travel was business related. When I've traveled back to the state for personal reasons, I've paid for it, and that will bear out in the process. But let me say this to you finally. With respect to the travel, commercial travel is what we fly almost exclusively. The situation is Cincinnati. I fly with the president for a meeting on infrastructure. We were going to the G7 in Italy and could not make the flight at JFK unless we got public transport. So that's why that decision was made. But it's been only 4 instances during the entire time that I've been serving as administrator, and it was always based upon circumstances. You mentioned the one in Colorado. The reason that occurred is because we were going into Gold King, Colorado to address the needs and concerns of the citizens there and couldn't make it otherwise, and I would dispute the governor's reference that you made earlier.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, thank you very much for stating for the record, because the Inspector General is looking into those details, and I hope it all bears out, and let's see what the outcome is. wanted to be respectful of giving you an opportunity to answer, and there goes all of my
Who's
time.
next?
So with the last 5 seconds, I just would like to ask that I be able to insert these 2 letters from the EPA's Inspector General agreeing to investigate this travel. I ask unanimous consent to enter them into the record.